We farmed trout. I could fillet a fish by the time I was 8 years old. We farmed grain. We farmed bees. And I have delicious memories of honey right from the comb. We farmed sheep. And we had like an annual tradition of a community sheep shearing day, which we still do today. So hobby farming was amazing, great memories, but some things weren't as easy. If you know anything about small farming operations, you know that they're really, really hard. And what happens in a family when things are really hard is it gets a little stressful. So you can imagine you're raising 3 kids, things are tight, you're trying to make ends meet, things are a little hard. So it was a little stressful. Now, as far back as I can remember, which, well, until I started locking myself in my own room, you know, like any respectable teenager will do, as far back as I can remember, walking around the house is like walking on eggshells. You know, you just never really knew when something was going to explode. And I got really good at reading a room. There'd be times when you could walk into a room and you could just feel the stress and the anger just seething under the surface. And as a kid, I would just do whatever I could to not be the thing that set it off, to not be too loud, too surprising. So I would walk quieter, I would talk quieter. I would even narrate my every move. You know, like you would do if you were hiking in the woods and you don't want to come up on a bear and surprise them. No, I'm just walking over here, don't mind me. Except it would sound like, I'm just gonna get this bowl from the cupboard and the cereal. I'm just gonna go over here. So I would narrate my every move so I wouldn't be too surprising. Sometimes my narration would be the thing, because quite frankly, it's really annoying. So some days I just couldn't win. I was 9 or 10 at the time, and I could hear that the bear was upset. And we lived in a mobile home where you have the hallway that runs down the entire length of the mobile home. And then an addition at the back where my bedroom was. And I heard him get out of his chair in anger, and I heard the feet down the hallway stomp, 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 the longest hallway in the entire world. As I sat in my bedroom wondering, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? And he storms through the door, and he grabs me by the arm, and he takes me to the back door. And I don't remember how I got from being on 2 feet to being dangled up by my ankles out the back door, but he was mad, so mad. I'd taken the garbage out, and I hadn't been careful, and it had blown all over the yard and made a big mess. Oh, was he mad. And as I hung by my ankles, powerless, his cowboy boot connected with my body as he kicked me out the door, fell to a pile, and he told me to go clean it up. And I remember feeling so scared, so small, and so powerless, and I hated it. And as I went around the yard and I was cleaning up all the garbage, I'm just sobbing. And that sobbing turned to rage, just absolute rage. This is so unfair. What an asshole. And in my belly, the rage just grew and warmed, and it took over my entire body, and it comforted me like I needed so badly in that moment. It comforted me. And anger became my friend. It wasn't the last time I upset the bear. I mean, I became a very angry teenager. But it was the last time I felt that scared. Anger was my friend. Anger was my friend at school when people would call me a loser and that I had no friends. Anger was my friend when I pinned my sister against the wall with a broomstick in her mouth because she was telling me I had no friends and no one liked me. Anger made me so powerful. I had a 92-pound gymnast body, and I terrified my 130-pound ninth grade older sister. I was powerful in my anger. I got so good at it, and so uncomfortable with the other feelings. So uncomfortable. Ugh. Like in university, I dated this guy for a while, a short while, because he had lots of feelings. A lot. And we lived in an apartment. I lived in an apartment with my girlfriend, and he would be visiting. We were in my bedroom, and he'd get upset about something, and I'm sure it had nothing to do with my anger. He'd be upset about something. and he started to cry, and I feel like all this uncomfortableness of just like, oh, like what am I supposed to do? What do I do? So I do the only thing that a good girlfriend, loving girlfriend would do, and I leave the room. And I go into my girlfriend's room and I'm like, oh, he's crying again. And she's like, I think you're supposed to stay in the room with him. I'm like, no, I'll just wait. It's okay. Yeah. So my anger made me, I was very, very comfortable with it. I was very good with it, but not so good with any of the other feelings. And my anger had served me quite well up to that point. And then I meet this guy who wasn't so into my rage, wasn't so into like the volatile switch that would go on and off, and I kind of liked him, and I kind of wanted to hang out with him more. So I'm thinking, you know what, I should do something to make myself better. Because sometimes it just takes one good reason to make a really big change. So I started reading and journaling and reviewing and practicing and reflecting and journaling and reading some more and shedding the layers and feeling some vulnerable, soft feelings, and then something would happen, whoop, up comes the walls and the anger, and back again, reading and reviewing and journaling and reflecting and peeling back the layers. So this guy sticks around for a while, and we have a baby, our first baby girl, and then we have our second baby girl, and then we have our third baby girl. 3 girls. And I'm like, oh Lordy, I'm gonna have to get really good at these feelings. Nothing motivates you to be a good person than the responsibility of raising 3 humans, right? So I'm reading and reviewing, and I'm noticing I'm super uncomfortable with them, but I'm more comfortable if they have a character and a name and a face and a color. So I start giving them all names. You know, like, here's Raging Rhonda. And it's like, oh, what are you here for? What do you need? Oh, okay. Let's go for a run. We'll work through this. And Sad Sally, it's like, oh, you seem like you need to cry. All right, let's go watch a movie. You'll cry, we'll move through this. You'll leave then. Okay. So I got really good at noticing and naming and processing and letting them move through me. Like, okay, at least I'm more comfortable with being uncomfortable with these feelings. And I made so many mistakes. And I felt so hurried to get it right because I've got these 3 daughters watching me and I really don't want them to pick up on some of my behaviors. So I'm trying to learn as fast as I can. And don't get me wrong, I'm still a work in progress. I still really lean heavily on Raging Rhonda because she's a really good friend of mine. But I'm getting better at leaving some room for Lonely Lily, to ask for a hug so that she can pass on through too. And Sad Sarah, we can sit and have a cry together and then she can leave too. I'm getting better at it. And what I found from these years of practicing naming is I found these words that I was able to give to my daughters that I never had. And the power that comes with being able to name something is extraordinary. So, and when you have that power, you should share it, right? So I started Girls Changing the World, and I started helping other moms raising daughters with big emotions so that we all can just have these words. Still working on it. I've been peeling back the layers for 17 years now, and I still get to places where it feels a little uncomfortable and I want to leave a room. And sometimes I still do. And that's okay. Because when I'm in a room with my daughter and she's flinging angry words at me, and I recognize her feelings of powerlessness, and I notice my feelings of hurt and frustration and anger, and I might have to step out of the room so that I can process some feelings of inadequacy and worry that I'm not a good enough mom for these kids. When they come back to me and they've regulated themselves, when they come back and they say, Mom, I felt dismissed. When they come back and they throw their arms around me and they're like, I'm sorry, I remember that we're all just a work in progress. Now, I can tell you, life is not so simple in a house of 4 girls, and there are definitely more than just 2 feelings. But we are having the best experience learning the power of feeling them all. Thank you.